What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 14 of the Elephant Wire podcast, show we break down song lyrics. However, today we have our first installment of Drug Stories with Dirty Hippie Kyle. I'm so fucking stoked for you guys to meet him. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's fucking get some.
Welcome to the Elephant Wire podcast. Music, drugs, laughter, lyrics.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am so fucking stoked for you guys to hear this episode. And whenever I say stoked, what I mean by that is one person should only be able to get so hard. And then there should be but I can't even tell you what's going on in my trousers right now. This is fantastic. I am so incredibly stoked for you guys to hear this episode. This is the first installment of Drug Stories with Dirty Hippie Kyle. So if you are not prepared at this moment, get prepared. Do a little dose, spark a joint, grab yourself a beverage, because Kyle Mann is one of the most beautiful human beings on this planet. And as far as doing drugs in public or at shows or really in general, this man knows more than everybody. So sit back, relax, enjoy this Zoom interview I did with fucking Dirty Hippie Kyle Mann not too long ago. You guys are in for a treat.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
There we go.
There's our boy.
Oh, he's not.
There's our boy. What's up, brother, man? How you living?
You know, just brewing beer, living life. How we doing?
Times are good. Times are good. Can't complain. I had a good morning. Heather got the vacuuming out of the way, so we can record in peace.
I like the setup, by the way. It looks nice.
Why, thank you. Well, I tried to make it as legitimate as possible, so. It's been tougher to make things as legitimate as possible, seeing as how this is a DIY project, if you will.
Yeah. But it's got to have a little bit of rough edge to it. Otherwise, let's be real, we're not too fancy. So.
Yeah, every now and again when I move too quickly, you can see my hat wall behind me. So. But right on, man. Let's jump right into it. Welcome on the podcast. Good to have you.
Thank you. Honored to be here. Wait, by the way, is this a dry run or are we actually recording right now?
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, if we end up, if it gets weird, then yeah, we'll call it a dry run. But at the moment, let's just keep rolling with it. See how it goes.
We'll just keep it natural. That's the way to go about it. Yeah.
Organic, if you will. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure, man. Well, I for anyone watching this, I updated Kyle on our talking points, and I gave him 2 of them. And the 2 talking points we're going to hit right off the bat are 1, what age should you start doing acid or really just psychedelics in general? I'll throw mine out there real quick, and it's 17. I think that's whenever you should start psychedelics. Kyle, I'd love to get your take on this one because...
It's funny, we're on the opposite side of the same coin. I'm saying 19.
Aha, okay, all right.
The reason being is, you're officially an adult now. If you're not a deadbeat, you should have moved out of your parents' house and you have 1 year of life experience, right? This is when you truly step into adulthood.
Right.
And this is also, because 17, I remember back when I was 17, it was still, more is better. So 1's good, right. 3 even better, which is not the case with psychedelics. It's better to start a little small. You obviously want to dip your toes a little bit because it can be an overwhelming experience. And I don't think you're ready for what it's going to tell you until you're about 19, because you're still pretty self-absorbed when you're 18. 19 is when you start to kind of get it and you're going one direction or either. Right?
Yeah.
You're at the precipice of either being a good person or a bad person.
You are given both opportunities at that point.
Exactly, right? So it's sort of a red pill, blue pill situation.
Yes. And it is funny, like, whenever you are given that, whichever one you end up grabbing, I mean, you fucking grab it and you run with it until about age like 27.
Yes. Yeah. Was that because if you're a rock star, then you should be dead?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. You just Amy Winehouse yourself and then yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I woke up on my 28th birthday, I did have one eye open and be like, all right, am I a rock star? Nope, still alive, all right.
Exactly. I remember actually most of my 27th year on this earth. I spent most of that year being like, dude, if it happens, like that'd be super badass.
Say, if I'm going to go out early, this is the year to do it.
This is the year to do it. Yeah. Just shouting from a bathtub like Mary. And then, yeah, that was it. Well, word, dude. Well, the other question I had for you, Kyle, was another both ends of the spectrum, if you will, is we've all had that moment where we did either too many or not enough drugs at a concert. And then we've also had that one where we've done just the appropriate amount. So I'm trying to get your take. Let's start with the just the appropriate amount. What is a show that sticks out in your mind where you did exactly as many drugs as you should have?
Well, so that's a confusing question, though.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Is it what resulted in the best, or what ended in the best result, or was it just like, this was just the appropriate amount for the experience?
I guess I am leaving you a lot of parameters. I guess because a lot of things come into this. What the show was, the venue, the crowd at the venue. I guess there's a lot of factors that go into this. So kind of take it as you will. There's no specific.
Well, I don't think it's really like, if we're like getting much out of just talking about the average for this one. So let's go the highest highs and lowest lows. That's
I like that. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm going for here.
Do we start with the good or the bad, though?
Let's start with the good, because we're going to chase the bad for a while.
Okay, that's fair. And actually, I feel like they're both fairly involved stories, but I feel like there's a lesson to be learned from the bad, as you might imagine. So
there always is.
That's pretty much just celebrating hedonism. We don't need more of that. So, and this next one will show some restraint. So
yes.
So my best drug-filled evening was back. It was the Saturday night of Jazz Fest. It must have been back in 2016.
Okay.
So we were there for a bachelor party. So it was only guys, which is a terrible idea to leave fucking 8 guys alone to roam New Orleans. So
in NOLA, yeah.
And if I remember correctly, it rained so hard that day that like literally, like the Forrest Gump story, it's like sometimes it came sideways, sometimes it even came like right coming from the ground. It was like that. Like literally everything was soaked. And the worst part was I think we'd so this is a pretty standard thing in New Orleans. If you're going to survive Jazz Fest, cocaine is your best friend. So we were
exactly, yeah.
Yes, so we had a lot of that. But like I said, everything got wet. Like even things in your pockets somehow got wet. So all of our drugs got wet. So I remember we had to go back. And the worst part is it was supposed to be Stevie Wonder was supposed to play that day at Jazz Fest. And that was the one we were most excited for.
Okay.
But they canceled the festival. Or they canceled that night, or the rest of the festival that night. So I think we ended up going back home, kind of regrouping. I think some naps were in order because now our drugs were all wet. So we literally had to put them in the oven to dry them out. Which that's a good way to do it.
I've heard microwave before, but I've also heard that basically turns it into crack.
Yeah, so we try to avoid that. I don't know the science behind that, but that seems like a really transforming. Oven is just heat, right? Like that's So, but anyways, it was we had tickets to go see Galactic that night, which they're a New Orleans institution.
Sure.
They're in this really cool theater. The name of it is actually escaping me right now, but all I remember is we were on like the top floor, and it was crazy steep. Like almost to the point like you feel like you're gonna fall. Like literally, if you lean too far, you're like gonna spit on the band and also fall on stage. So.
Okay.
We were all dragging a little bit, so I think pretty much we took what we deemed was a survival dose. So we all took a little bit of LSD. Long story short, we'll get back to this. It ended up being the best LSD I've ever taken in my entire life. I've been chasing that dragon for a long time now.
Good.
So as we're like settling in, like starting a trip, and it's just like we're laughing, we're sweating because it's New Orleans. And I remember like we were standing right in front of a security guard. Her name was Charisse, and she comes back to the story as well. So I went to go get a drink, and I walked past her. And these days I was feeling pretty bold. I remember it was like in my single days, and basically nothing could touch me. I was like, must have been 26. So life was pretty good.
Okay.
So I walked straight up to the security guard and Charisse, and I say, "Hey, I'm Kyle." She goes, "I'm Charisse." I said, "Nice to meet you." And I pointed down to my seat. I said, "Theoretically, if someone were to do cocaine right there, would you be mad about it?" She goes, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Take a little bump, starting to feel real good. I look back up to Sharice. I walk back up to her. I said, so theoretically, if that man right next to me did cocaine, would you be upset about it? So that was my friend T.O. So he takes his bump, and then he went up and then started chatting with Sharice. So much so to the point that T.O.'s phone got ruined that day. So he took my phone, put her number in there, and she comes into play later. So show ends. Great time. Nothing over the top, but just good old time. So still flying high, still very, very high in LSD. It's probably about 3 a.m. at this point. Actually, it must have been a little bit earlier. So it ended up 2 o'clock. So, which is prime time in New Orleans,
Sure.
So being that it's a bachelor party, it only seemed appropriate to go to the strip club.
Well, yeah.
So we start walking down. We're walking on Bourbon Street. I think we even stopped to get because you can buy beer anywhere there and just walk around the streets. So
Yeah, exactly.
Grabbed a beer, walked in, and I remember everyone walked in, and it was me, the bachelor, and then my other buddy. And we literally just got to the door and all just stopped in unison. As if it's once you go past it, there's no turning back. And we just looked at each other. Does anyone want to do this?
Why are we doing this?
Goes in, and then Tio ran back out because he's like, yo, I got to hit up Sharice. So homeless in New Orleans. Luckily I had my 2 buddies. So we're me, T-Mail, and Baldino are just laughing our fucking asses off. It's about 90 degrees, just sweating like crazy people.
Oh, yeah.
In the corner, doing the hunch over laugh, just sweating, and people just think we must be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So we go to the gas station, pick up some PBRs.
Are you still teetering down off of that LSD at this point?
Oh, no, we are very much it's still going up.
Oh, it's still going. Oh, perfect.
So we start rolling around, go to different bars, having a good time, and just stopping in. And I remember, so I was on a roll that week. People just seemed to love me in New Orleans to the point they were like, we might just leave Kyle down here.
Absolutely.
And then I remember we went to this one bar and there was this very sassy gay bartender and he had these amazing jean shorts on. And I go, oh man, those look really good on you. As they wouldn't look good on you, honey. And then just walk away. Which I was
striking out.
Yeah, that hit me pretty deep. I was like, oh man, my confidence is so high. So we get our drinks, we go walk out back on the street. And then we just start talking about how fast we felt because we couldn't feel like we weren't touching the ground. So let's fucking prove it. So then basically for the next about 2 hours, every one of us just had to go up to one random person and challenge them to do a foot race, which apparently you can do very fast in LSD. So then we just roam the town literally all over New Orleans. Also isn't a very safe city, but I don't think anyone wanted to mess with us because those 3 hippies, they don't have any money. Leave those guys alone.
That guy doesn't even have a phone.
No, so you can't even steal his phone. Then we finally go back to the strip club, go meet back up with them. We're like, how was it? And we're like, we had the best fucking night of our lives. Yeah, the strip club was really weird. And we're like, yep, kind of anticipated that. So I'm like, where's
that coming?
Because at this point, I'm like, all right, I should probably get back to thinking about something regular. So I'm like, where's Tio? He has my phone. They're like, oh, he went to go meet up with Sharice.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to interject here because every time you say Sharice, I instantly think of the young lady in the song "Misfat Booty."
Okay, yeah, no, that's
by Mos Def. My
accurate.
name is Mos. I'm Sharice.
Yeah, no, line. She was a voluptuous black girl, but very attractive, I will say.
Yes. So this is who I have pictured in my head is the girl from that music video. So at least, so we're right on track.
This seems accurate, yeah. So
okay, all right, continue, sir.
And then it's like, all right, well, where's Tio? And so he comes back to the Airbnb probably about an hour later after we get there. We're like, what were you doing? He's like, well, we were hanging out. We didn't have anywhere to go because she lived across the other side of town. So he had sex with her in a car on LSD. So
that is badass.
But I feel personally like this was my doing because I basically played psychedelic Cupid in this sense where I introduced them and then allowed him with the phone. So
yeah, you absolutely shot her with a cocaine arrow. Absolutely.
Right in the heart, didn't miss.
And I would also like to imagine you as a LSD Cupid also wearing jean shorts instead of like the swaddled diaper that they so standardly wear.
I can't remember if I was even wearing pants that day, but
I'm sure at most points you were, but there had to have been a foot race in there where they had to come off. It just
the rules in New Orleans work a little bit differently, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, all right, so we've got our high end. We've got our definitely like, this is your pinnacle. This is what you're going for.
Yes.
Let's kind of teeter back a little bit. Let's find out, what is a time whenever drugs absolutely did not, they turned their back on you, if you will.
Yes. Okay. So there's a little bit of background involved here, and I have a confession. At one point in my life, I was what can be considered a drug dealer.
That's fine.
For one summer, and I only sold LSD and didn't make many off of it, so I wouldn't recommend it. But
well, that's it. The only people I've ever bought LSD off of were bikers. So like, you're an incredibly unassuming biker, much less LSD. Well, okay, you look a lot more like an LSD dealer than you do a biker, but
I think that's fair to say. Yeah, I'm like how I describe me, like kind of like an LSD dealer. So. But so anyways, the reason how this all started was I met this one very nice girl who I will not name for the sake of privacy. She was very connected to the Dead family, that's where you get the family fluff, the good stuff. So she always had sheets on sheets. So I'd usually buy, 50 hits and just basically distribute them to my friends. Like I said, gave a lot of it away. But yeah, I wouldn't really recommend, not a money-making venture, but it was fun. It's fun always having a ton of LSD on, I'll tell you that.
I had a summer where I was buying a lot of weed and then I would just distribute it to my friends. So I was more of a mule than I was a dealer.
Actually, yeah, maybe because if I calling myself a drug dealer, I really wasn't very good at it. So really, yeah, just being a mule middleman. So
because I'm sure you were like, I wasn't making a dime off of it. I think I would show up, buy a bunch, and then I would just be like, everyone owes me $30. And then I'm square again. Like, I didn't make any money off.
Close your eyes and dip your hand and take what you want.
hey, that's too many nugs. Put one of those back.
Yes. So anyways, this is where the story takes the first wrong turn. So this must have been, I want to say 2010, which is crazy to think that was a decade ago. How we've grown. The band Soundtribe Sector 9 was making their annual roll through to the old Red Rocks Amphitheater, for which I wanted to be prepared for it, i.e. get some LSD for the friends. So homegirl was out of town, so I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll reach out to some other people, see if anyone knows anyone. So I get hooked up with a friend of a friend. He makes me buy some, what do you call them? Sour Patch Kids, to place them on. I'm like, all right, that's
sure.
Legit.
So you got to show up with your own candy?
Yeah. I mean, I ate a few in a way, so yeah.
Well, yeah, the Sour Patch Kids.
I got a big bag just to be careful, So we get to his house, and it's already like kind of feeling bad vibes, like, ooh, I really don't know about this. So anyways, I'm kind of in too deep. So I'm like, all right, I guess let's just get this over with. So we go to his room, and, he had the vial, and he was actually nicely placed. It was like within a container kept in a cold environment. So I'm like, all right, legit.
Okay.
So we laid out all the Sour Patch Kids, and he was talking about, I was like, because he'd seen them the night before, and I was like, oh, how was it? And he immediately launched into about how fucked up he got. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a little not the kind of conversation I was anticipating.
Right.
So we're sitting there, and he's, dropping them on each one. And then I see him just just do a couple really fat ones on like a couple of them on purpose. He goes like, that'll be a surprise double hit. I'm like, all right, keep an eye on those and throw those away, or just let them know. Like,
it was a yellow and a green. Or wait, was it two greens?
So many may not know this. Obviously when you drop a hit of LSD onto something, there is a saturation period.
Sure.
Which basically meant I had to sit at this man's house for about 45 minutes. And now I'm in an awkward conversation with a drug dealer that I don't want to talk to. If I do remember correctly, this is where it started getting very weird. There were a lot of people popping in and out. I basically saw every drug imaginable in those 45 minutes being changed hands. So I'm like, okay, this is not the kind of place that I usually am. Like, I'm a very lighthearted, drug user.
A very accepting drug user as well.
Exactly, yeah. But this started to feel like, okay, this is crime around me. Like, I'm feeling like I'm very wrong. So long story short there, get out of there. I'm like, all right, did not enjoy that. Already in a bad headspace. So we get to my friend's house who's having, the standard, this is back when it was cool to have the party bus to Red Rocks. So we start having a few beers. I was like a little late to the party because I got kind of dragged in here. So just start basically handing out all this LSD to my friend, which is pretty normal. So we, get there, standard party bus ride. And this actually Soundtribe show was particularly special because a man named Snoop Doggy Dogg was actually the opener.
Now, how about that? That's fun.
Yeah, a little unlikely combo.
Yeah.
So, all my friends were like packed up front, and it was me and my other buddy. It's like, you know what? Not really feeling that right now because the LSD was starting to kick in. So watching Snoop Dogg from up top, great time. So then like, not really feeling it. And I'm like, man, like, I guess that was like kind of bunk. And I like went to go talk to my friends and they're like, yeah, we're not really feeling it. So, like hanging out, and all of a sudden I'm like, still not really in the mood to be way down there. So it was me and my buddy Jared. And this is also a general rule of thumb for those who don't know this. The weirdest people always hang out in the back.
Yeah. For sure.
We were in the back, kind of by the weirdos, and I'd strike up a friendly conversation per usual. This is kind of the guy that I am.
Also, those that don't know, whenever you say at the back at a Red Rock show, you mean at the top.
At the top, yes, that's correct.
Yes. At a venue, it would be at the back, but at Red Rocks, because it's at the top. Yeah.
It's at the top, so yes. So we're at the top. I strike up this friendly conversation. And so at these points in my life, I was also very serious about being like a tripping Boy Scout. And so I think in my backpack, I had, some Starbursts, some fresh fruit, and then a naked juice. And this guy was talking, he was like, man, like, I really enjoy naked juices when I'm tripping. And I was like, fun fact, I have in my backpack. Here you go, sir.
How about that?
Exactly. So made his evening. But he actually, this is where the story starts to go very, very wrong. So as we're grooming out, he looks at her, he taps me on the shoulder and he goes, my friend wants to give you something, open up your hand, which I always ask what that is or how much they're going to give you.
Yeah.
So I go, sure. I turn around, I look, and he basically just puts a puddle of LSD in my hand, which is a lot, So luckily I actually had the wherewithal to like fake lick my hand and honestly wiped it on my pants. And I was like, not fucking happening.
No.
But I was with my buddy Jared and they did the same thing to him and he did not think that. Jared took the puddle. So now we're like going to the show. It was a good show, but it was just like had this weird feeling the whole time, like just didn't feel good. So we're coming back and home. And then it's basically at this point I was living with 6 guys, 3 of us went to the show. So we start, like still kind of drinking. It's like 1 a.m. I had to work at, I think it was 10 a.m. the next day. And it's like, all right, 3 o'clock's rolling around. It's like, man, I'm not even like, can't even think about bed. Just feeling like kind of in a really weird, like tripping space. Like I at least got to go and try to go to sleep. So I go upstairs, literally just start staring at the ceiling. Actually, so I'll do this chronologically. So there is one very funny part of this story. And so Greg and Jared also tried to do the same. So at this point, Jared and Greg lived in the basement right next to each other. And I was on the top floor. And I reconvened with Jared the next day and I was like, did you sleep at all last night? And the answer is no. But he's like, dude, I didn't know what to do. So like all I did was just like start feverishly masturbating, trying to like
sweat it out.
Which is a tactic for sure.
Sure.
Anyways, so
it works for hangovers. So
yeah, it's a cure. Just a little endorphin shot, So Jared's sitting there feverishly masturbating, and Greg also can't sleep, but Greg can be a little pathetic sometimes. So Jared said, as he was going at it, he's got this big monitor, and all of a sudden he hears like some scratching at his door, and it's just Jared just being like, or Greg just being like, Jared, are you in there? And Jared's like, what the fuck do I do now? So he finished, and then let Greg, and they chatted for a while. So, but anyways. Did not sleep at all that night, had to work the next day, felt so miserable. Like one, because you are just a total depletion of any like basically you take all your serotonin out. Yeah. And it was bad because I talked to some of my friends and they'd all gone through the same evening. So this was actually the end of my time dealing LSD. And also only like, if you learn something there, I think the takeaway lesson is like, if you ever find someone you trust, stick with them and don't ever go with anyone else.
Right. Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yes, but that was, I would say that grew up a little bit as far as like how I handled drugs. Like, you know what? Let's be a little more careful about this. And ever since then, I've been much more of a less is more guy. So we're pretty like sliver, casual half. We're going that far. So, but I think that was actually the last time I ate a full hit of LSD, which is pretty crazy to think about. So
there you go. The puddle on the hand thing, that's hilarious because I as well at Red Rocks, I was there seeing Tank and the Bangas.
Oh, sure.
And they were opening for Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats.
Okay, yeah.
Great Red Rock show. So I had moved to San Diego about 6 months before the show. So I got used to drinking at sea level real fast. Come back out to Colorado. I'm about 8 beers deep before we even walk inside. So
I mean, that sounds pretty par for the course for you, so.
Well, yeah, like you were saying earlier, if one's good, 50's better, man.
Yeah, I mean, alcohol, that's fairly true. That's double digits, that's when you got to start being careful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first 4 were high life, so like we're fine.
So
yeah,
basically,
yeah. But yeah, at one point, midway through tanking the Bengus set, I I decided to go have a smoke, so I head over to the stairs at Red Rocks.
Very responsible.
And I'm standing over there smoking, and I was with my buddy Joe Baby.
Yeah.
I'm over there with Joe Baby, and he's like, all right, I'm going to head back to the seats. I was like, all right, cool, man. So I'm finishing my smoke. This guy walks up, and he goes, hey, can I trade you for a cigarette? And anytime someone offers me $1 or a joke or anything like that, just like, here's a smoke. Like, I don't want your joke. Keep your $1. Like, that's fine.
I think jokes, that's mutually beneficial on both sides. So I think that's a form of acceptable monetary payment for anything really. So
it should be, but I've been burned so many times on the joke.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's usually not good, but
because like 50% of the time the guy's like, all right, so you got a rabbi, and I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, especially yeah.
So this kid's like, oh, could I trade you a cigarette? And I was like, yeah, sure. And as I'm handing him the cigarette, he just holds out his hand, just like palm of his hand out, and there were just 2 little pills sitting on it. And like you, I had the moment to ask, what are these? But in the moment, I just decided we say yes, and I just popped them.
Yeah.
And I finished that smoke. I stand there with him while he finishes his. Then I light another one, and then about the time I'm almost done with that one, he's like, could I get another one? So I hand him another smoke. So we're looking at, 45 minutes?
I was going to say, this is an interaction at this point.
Yeah, Tank of the Bangers is
a situation with the drug dealer, so.
So Tank of the Bangers is almost done with their set at this point, when I'm finally like, all right, I'm going to head back to my seats. By the time I'm actually trying to find where Joe and the rest of my crew is at, I feel like light is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. By the time I get back to the seats, the only thing I can say, because this is Joe and everyone else telling me this later, is the only words I could get out was, the cigarette man gave me drugs. That was the only thing I could reverberate to them. And they said for the rest of the show, like, my eyes didn't even have white. They were just pupil, just the entire thing. So obviously the man gave me Molly or some type of ecstasy or something like that. But yeah, that's a time. You absolutely, as a point of advice for anyone out there, just ask what it is. It's
Yeah, that's some pretty basic advice right there. I feel like that should just be understood, but
in the moment, you get tied up. You're not thinking about it. You get excited.
I mean, we're yes men. That's kind of how we live our lives.
We are yes men. Yes, we've always said yes. This is what we do.
Yeah, and that sometimes that leads to success. Sometimes that leads to failure.
Exactly. Yes. Well, because, I mean, going back to New Orleans, I mean, how many people did you come across during the foot race scenario and they weren't yes men? They could have had a blast.
Yeah, there were some disappointing interactions that night, that's for sure. But there were some very solid ones as well. So
that's good.
But I don't believe I lost a foot race. And I don't think I've been in a foot race since. So I'm effectively the Usain Bolt of psychedelic running. So.
Well, if I remember correctly, it says on your Bumble that you run like the wind. So
yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
I don't know if you've changed that or not, but at one point,
I'm more of a hinge man now. That's it's a little more classy.
I've heard that Bumble kind of, and now it's all about the hinge.
Now that I'm officially 31 and in my late 30s, I got to be a little more realistic about this.
Anything past 29 is your late 30s.
I think that's how it works. You get your 1 year at 30. It's like, all right, that's early 30s, but then it just goes straight to late 30s.
Awesome. Well, this year I turn Illuminati. I'm turning 33. So
there we go.
Just just get the triangle going. Yeah. Or Rock Nation. Depends on who you ask on the internet. It could go either way.
Better drugs. I'm probably going Rock Nation. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, right on, man. It was good to catch up with you. It was good to do some initial interview with you. It's hilarious. One of the best posts we've ever had on the Instagram account was a picture of you and I just hugging.
Well, it was a pretty heartwarming photo. So
it was. It was hilarious that did better than any post we'd ever put up. That warmed my heart.
The embrace was genuine, and I think a lot of people, this time obviously do miss hugging their brothers. So
yes. Yeah, well, that's why I chose that photo, because I had a couple others to choose from. I was like, no, I miss hugging Kyle. Just our sternums pressed against each other. And
right. Very skinny guys. Yeah, there's not a lot of space in between our hearts when we hug.
Exactly. We feel the palpitations just going back and forth. I love it, man. Well, it was great to talk to you. It's great to get you out there. Everyone watching, we'll throw this interview up on the YouTube so we can have it forever. It'll probably be up on the Instagram as well. And then this is episode 14 of the Elephant Wire podcast. This is Drug Stories with Dirty Hippie Kyle. Dirty Hippie Kyle, thank you so much for coming on here. It was great to talk to you. We'll have to catch up again soon outside of this environment so we can fucking curse and talk about drugs and stuff that we can't put on the internet, you know?
That's great. That sounds good to me there, bud.
Absolutely. All right, Kyle, it was good to talk to you. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, love you, bud.
Fucking A, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our first installment of Drug Stories with Dirty Hippie Kyle. Like I said, he's a fantastic young man. We're going to have him on here fairly frequently, hopefully more frequently than less, but this first season we only have him on here one time. Maybe in the little limbo time between season 1 and season 2, we'll do a couple more interviews with him. I do find it funny that probably the moral of the story, or the moral takeaway to take away from this episode, is definitely if anyone ever puts drugs in your hand, just say, "What is it?" You know, don't don't be shy. Don't get peer pressured into just doing something without knowing what it is. Just ask, "Hey, what is it?" And no matter what they say it is, go ahead and pop it because it's probably going to be a really good time. But just ask. Just play it safe. Oh, what is it? But yeah, I'd say it's just about time for the local band spotlight. That's what I'm talking about, local band spotlight. And this week, we have a young man by the name of Phil Nugent from Canmore, Alberta, which anyone keeping score, that's actually in Canada. Pretty solid country just north of America. It's pretty sick up there, especially Alberta. Alberta is fucking gorgeous. But let's have a look here at what Phil Nugent has to say about his project. He says, "What up? I'm an indie folk rock artist from Canmore, Alberta, Canada." We already talked about this, so here we go. We got a little double action there. Back to Phil. He says, "I get to live in the Canadian Rockies and literally play music on top of mountains for a living." Well, Phil, you got me beat, because I live in the Colorado Rockies, and they are sick. But the Canadian Rockies are pretty fucking cool, man. I'm into that. I'm very into that. Anyway, Phil says, "Pre-COVID, I helped organize and performed at a summer festival on top of a gondola." Now, I like the way he words that, because I imagine that he was actually on top of the gondola, and like when he was stomping his foot to the music, everyone in the gondola was like, "What's happening? Ah!" That's probably not what happened, but it's a funny visual. Anyway, he says, "When that was canceled, I started taking my guitar on hikes to scenic spots nearby and recording what I called musical postcards for YouTube. I checked them out. They're absolutely divine. Check out Phil Nugent's music on YouTube and check out his musical postcards. They're fantastic." Phil says, "I released my first self-titled EP last fall, produced by the amazing Russell Broom, and was nominated this year for a Calgary Music Award." Congratulations, Phil. That's pretty fucking sick. "Lately, I've been writing lots of new material and trying to shift to a more electric guitar for a rockier vibe." I see what he did there. He lives in Canadian Rockies, rockier vibe. That's nice. I like that. Phil, keep it up. "I'm hoping to find funding to get back into the studio to record my next project and have been learning to self-produce." Fuck yeah, Phil. Congratulations being the local band spotlight this week. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Phil hit it right on the head whenever he said there at the end that he's trying to find funding to be able to get back in the studio. And if there's one thing that really is probably one of the most difficult parts of local musicians and being a local band, it's finding the funds to be able to appropriately go about recording, producing, and releasing music, because it is really fucking expensive. And this is where a lot of times labels or just, representation of any kind, this is where they honestly get you, because they're like, hey, we'll put you up in this world-class studio with world-class sound, with world-class engineers. Just sign on this dotted line and now we own your music and you'll never see a dime of it. So this is where cats like Phil, I know how difficult it is for someone like himself who's trying to be as professional as possible. And this is why I reinforce every single episode, support local music. These cats need our help more than ever. Throw on a mask, go see them play live, go to the park. Well, it's January now, so unless you live in Florida. But anyway, support local musicians, support local music. That's what it's all about. These cats need our help more than ever. Phil, Nugent, thank you so much for being the local band spotlight this week. Best of luck to you in Canada. Just killing it. Keep doing those musical postcards, playing tunes on top of a mountain. That's super badass. For everyone here at the Elephant Wire, thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the first installment of Drug Stories with Dirty Hippie Kyle. Like I said, we're going to have him around more often than not. He's a good guy, and we like him. But I'm going to take off. I got some Chinese takeout that I got to go pick up. I don't know why I timed it like this, but it is what it is. If you like what you heard here today, head to anchor.fm/The Elephant Wire Podcast and support us, because we would absolutely use your support as well. That's the only way we are able to do anything, is because of you guys telling your friends and liking us and commenting and sharing us and all that awesome jazz. Financially, thank you so much. That's about all I got. So, as always, fuck the man, hail Satan, hug your mom. We'll check you guys later. Peace.